Stephanie, do you think we're ready?
Not quite. Well, wait till he takes the visual down. Now you're ready. Yeah, he has to like take the graphic away, and then you should be good to go. I think we're good. Good, Todd? Yeah, he's gone.
Yep, y'all are live.
Thank you.
All right, gone ahead.
Okay. So, hi everybody. Happy June. This is as early as we do our meetings in the month. As far as, well, why don't we start by a motion to approve our May minutes?
I move that we approve our May minutes.
All right.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Hi.
Write down, be diligent about writing down who is making the motion and who's seconding the motion. Who seconded that? It's hard to tell with all the screens.
I did.
Oh, okay. Helen, okay. Yeah, cool. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. As far as a chair report, I don't have really anything topical that's not on our agenda. Darcy, can you give us a little bit of a financial picture on what we're looking at, what we have to spend in the next month?
Sure. So let's see, our balance in our operating funds. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. The balance in our operating funds is up 12,500. And then for our capital funds, it's almost 41,000.
Great.
And then we have 30,000 still in the SPOS Project 21. I don't know if that's the right wording for that, but that bigger fund. And then 85,000 for the artist relief.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So y'all noted that our account has cleared. So we've received the 85,000 from the county for artist relief. And somehow we need to figure out how to slink our own 15,000 back in that account so it's an even 100. I will figure that out. So a little bit of old business. Our Whitehall selection occurred 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was a 2-hour-long Zoom meeting. Even though there were just 5 or 6 selectors, it took a minute. It was both fairly contested, even though there were just 2 submissions we're looking at, that there were strong opinions for both artworks. Ultimately, Johnny Jonkin Herzog's piece was selected, and the Mayor Commission will be hopefully moving that one forward in their June meeting. July meeting? I'm not sure where that's at. We also met last week, Madeline Montu, Lizzie, and myself to vote on Arts and Community Awards Round 1. We were able to select 5 of those. Lizzie, have you notified the 5 that they've been selected?
I'm there. There you are. I was actually texting on you. The 5 Whitehall people who voted.
No, the 5 Arts and Community Award winners.
Oh, I did not think that was. I thought you were making comments for people.
Okay. Yeah, we're almost done with that part. So Madeline Montu and I have been making comments to all of the applicants for round 1. There were 24 applicants, and in any other year previous, we've only had 14. That's our next highest number. So that's a sign that there's a lot of need and there's a lot of good ideas out there, and hopefully in round 2 we can match need and opportunity more. Really looking forward to quality there. But one thing that we're doing is giving feedback to the ones that we did not select in round 1 so that they can improve their applications for round 2 to more firmly meet the criteria if that's where they stumbled, or to strengthen the aspects of the proposal that are lacking. Mostly it's the public impact piece. And so we selected 5 awards for that one. And again, in years past, the most we've ever awarded was 3 of these at 1,500 each. This year, we had a little extra room in our budget because we had a staff vacancy in November and December. So that freed up some funds so that we're able to fund 5 of these. The 5 that were funded, all of these are organizations. So we ended up deciding on 5 institutions. Those are Nucci Space, Canopy, Athica, the Culinary Kitchen of Athens, which is a conglomerate of, those in the food industry, and then Envision Athens with their proposal for an artist registry. So really high quality. I think, we were able to award 5 strong applicants. We could have easily awarded, 15. So it will be a daunting challenge to award 50 of these at once, which we'll certainly talk about here in a few minutes. So that's really it for me for old business. Holly, can you give us a projects overview?
Sure. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
So for tonight, if I review everything that you wrote down on the agenda, that would include Clayton Street. We still need to finalize that contract, last I heard. Any update on that?
We have a draft, but it still needs some attorney's office rubber stamping.
Okay. Then the next step would be to schedule an artist visit in the fall, which is rapidly approaching.
Right.
Are we still planning to coordinate that with a local artist?
I don't know. What do y'all think? It's been a while since we've had this conversation.
Well, in the past, when we've had an out-of-town artist on a big project, this is a pretty big scale project.
I think Krisha contacted me to say, is that still happening? Because she had been tapped to be that person.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. So she's kind of in the wings waiting.
Okay, great.
No.
So I don't know if that needs to be also part of the contract. I don't know how it worked with the Morton mural. That was like the most recent big one where we had an assistant locally.
Yeah, has she been tapped to assist him on the project itself?
Seemed like it.
To be the local liaison with the businesses and help introduce him to what was happening and that kind of thing. And then when he's gone, to carry out something if we need locally measuring or, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Right. Do we have budget for an assistant here?
Let's see.
I had that impression.
There's nothing specific on notes of what an amount that we identified. So, again, we can maybe look at Morton as an example, although this budget's a lot smaller, I think.
Right. Well, the budget itself is comparable to the Hot Corner mural.
Okay.
Will it require as much work? I guess we can let the
She's right on
sort it out.
your chart.
Lizzie?
Yep. Yeah. So I didn't want to interrupt, but when you're done with Clayton Street, there was a comment I had on your chart.
Oh, okay.
That's why my hand's up.
Yeah. And then I guess once we coordinate his visit in the fall, upon finalizing the contract, then Linda, I believe, has the construction documents that she can share with the artist. Is that still accurate?
I think he's already got them, Holly.
Okay.
David Lynn sent them to him, I believe, but I'll double check that tomorrow.
Great. I will move that over as accomplished. All right, cool. But right now, that's all I have. I mean, until we finalize the contract, it's really hard to move forward on that. I assume like streetscaping, it was supposed to happen this summer. Linda, have you noticed anything?
You know, Georgia Power, they finished the underground work. Georgia Power is now working on the vaults, which I understand is, you know, a lot more complicated than you would think it is. It takes, there's 12 vaults and it takes about 3 weeks to move one. So, but you know, they still feel like they're on schedule to start the streetscape in July. They think that Georgia Power will have the vaults, you know, on the stretch between College and Jackson. They'll have that stretch complete by the 1st of July, and they can start working on the above-ground streetscape.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Most of us are do not have our eyes on the street right now, so
Right.
cool. All right, so then moving ahead to the Music Walk of Fame. Dee Dee, do you know if the contract with the plaque artist has been finalized?
The designer?
Yes.
I have that contract. I sent it to City Hall 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was still not executed.
Okay.
Are we talking about the Walk of Fame contract?
Fame.
No, it's executed.
It's executed.
They sent a follow-up email to say no, it wasn't.
When did they send that, Andrew? They told me it was.
Last week.
I mean, I'm continuing as if it is.
Yeah, we were informed that it had been executed, the manager's office. The PO has been produced and the fabricator has been identified, and we're getting a test plaque like any day now. And Kevin at Streets and Drainage is ready to go. The main piece that we're missing is a letter from the mayor to the inductees.
Right. So that the mayor's office is coordinating notification of the 10 nominees and the agreement with them, if any.
Yep.
And I guess Andrew, you can let me know what the situation is with the contract. But it's hard to imagine that the purchase order would go ahead without that in place. So,
I mean, maybe Linda knows anything else, but we were under the impression notified that it had been done, and we, you know, have drafted the news release and so forth. So.
Okay.
Let me know if there's any difference.
Okay. Well, then the other piece of the Downtown Development Authority is working on creating an app. Is that still rolling ahead?
It is. They are using the plaque design as the, I guess you'd say, or the landing page. And we have got, you know, summaries for the artists, but of course, you know, that's all very, very much a draft form just for them to be working with right now. And the Department of Economic Development is, they understand that, you know, that may not be completed by the end of this fiscal year, and they're okay with that.
Cool.
So we had been waiting on the purchase order being finalized before doing a press release about the artist and the design and everything. Do you think it's safe now to get out there?
Yes, I mean, not the musicians, not the
No.
for the plaques, the artists. Yeah.
The design will look like of the thing that's going in the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah, we're planning. I mean, we're sending that out. I mean, as soon as we got the go ahead from the SPOS folks. So.
When you say we're sending that out, do you mean you're doing the press release?
Yeah. I know, Holly, it's been so long. 6 months ago, did that. I can send it to you too, to let you look at it, take a look at it.
It's already out there.
Well, we've sent it to Flagpole. We haven't sent it to anybody else.
Okay. I guess, yeah, if you could share that with Lizzie, then that way we can put it on our
Absolutely.
media and stuff.
We just thought we'd send it to Flagpole first since they were such a key part of it, but
Sure.
we'll do that.
A big chunk of it was just from forever ago, and Andrew wrote the piece of it. So yeah.
Oh, great, that one. Yeah, I did that in January.
I was gonna say, he already made it. Great.
Glad it still has legs.
Awesome. Okay, so that's Music Walk update. And then we have the Greenway, more projects on the Greenway. So I know that Helen has drafted the call for art for the artwork that will be on the site has been identified, but has still, I think, needs to be approved. But we're excited. I think we'll be able to get that call for art out, in another month or so. I think we had originally looked at August, just so that there wasn't too much overlap with the Dudley Park call for art. But that's kind of what's in the works right now for the Greenway project. The Whitehall Roundabout is underway, as was already mentioned. Thank you, Andrew. So you talked about how we've got the selected artists. We have an agenda report has been submitted. I think for July. Well, let's see. Hold on. I don't know. Am I getting my wires? An agenda report, I think, is underway because we have to kind of pause to go back to the design of the selected artists and make any engineering for like public health review, like for public safety.
Traffic.
So the overall concept's been selected, and then it's going to go back to the engineers. I think the artist is supposed to be scheduling a meeting with them to sit down, go over the design, and just make any other little tweaks to it for just that engineering stamp of approval. And then it can go before the mayor and commission.
Kelly, can you repeat who the artist was? Did you say it was Johnny Herkins Young?
Herkins. Yes, Johnny Herzog-Hugins.
Thank you. I got her name wrong.
So that is the selected artist. I suppose it's not 100% done deal though until we have that mayor and commission approval. So
Okay.
For the record.
Is that okay to go ahead and write down in the minutes?
Oh, didn't Keith take this big history fact document that we helped make him to present on an agenda? So it will be coming up on an agenda. That's independent of the artist getting approval. But the contract, how does the contract happen? I'm confused.
Yeah, the mayor and commission approved first. That's the important immediate step that has to happen before contract preparation and all of that.
Okay. So assuming they do, that's then when Johnny would get a contract and would have changed her proposal to address any concerns by engineering and traffic. So it's like that order. Holly's nodding. So.
I think ideally, when we put the agenda report, when we do that report to the mayor and commission, ideally we would have the concept, not just the concept, but the design to show them.
Did happen? Did that?
They are approving something that's actually purchasable or actionable. But if it's a little, if we feel like we have to just get their approval of the initial design with the caveat that it has to have that engineering stamp, if they're okay with that, that works. So I don't know how quickly she's going to schedule to meet with Ronnie and that group.
Mhm.
But you know, if it's not they're not significant changes, then she can maybe get it in as an addendum or something. I don't know. Maybe they've got the agenda report in lockdown, but that would be ideal.
Yeah, well, the report definitely addressed some of the concerns that the selection committee had in terms of some changes. So those are kind of in there. That I don't know that there'd be that many others, but
Okay. I hadn't seen the agenda report. So basically, it sounds like they're gonna submit, along with the history, like the initial design that was selected and the engineer's initial comments about the design. Okay, I mean, that should work too.
Mhm.
All right, then, so hopefully Whitehall will be underway soon, and we'll have public art in the roundabout, our first little round, well, one of our only roundabouts. Okay, cool. Then we have the Cooperative Extension Service Center, and right next door, the Fire Station 2 out in West Athens. So those projects are underway. I've not been by there myself to see it with my own eyes, but as far as I know, artworks are being constructed and hopefully installed. Has anyone laid eyes on either of these things?
I saw
Foundation being installed for the chicken.
Yeah,
Hmm.
cool.
That's
All right.
promising.
Okay, that's progress. We'll take it. It would be wonderful, Andrew. I don't know if you have time to contact David about it and just to see if we can get like some in progress pic.
Yeah, that's a good call. Social media hit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could go out there and do that, right?
that would be fun.
That's a
Yeah.
good call too,
Because
Lizzie.
I don't know if he's making it like in a warehouse and then installing it, or if it's on site. I'm not sure.
I have no idea. Does anybody know?
Yeah.
I live out here and as you said, the base appears to be going in, but no chicken is starting above the ground. I see.
So Lizzie, if you could reach out to David,
Yeah.
yeah, he might have them from the studio.
Awesome.
Fun. Okay.
Then we have right next to our fire station 2 again. You know, I don't know if anyone's seen. I think that one's making more progress. Has anybody seen that one?
I didn't even notice it. I didn't notice anything, even a foundation, but I don't know. Maybe it's closer to the ground.
It's supposed to be pretty tall.
Is it exterior?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go see.
It was like I think it would be on a foundation, and then it's a large, is it granite block? Big enough to be like several feet above the road, or of the site, and close to the entrance, the public entrance to the building, and then above the granite block is like a huge sculpture.
Have not seen that.
Nothing. Okay, good to know. Well, maybe, I don't know, Andrew, is that something you can also ask Aaron for some progress pics?
Texting me to just give a couple updates. I guess he's the fire station art has been in his shop, so he's doing all the work there.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the case with the chicken too. Okay. Well, if he's willing to share some workshop pics, it's just like you said, it's good for social media.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then the last two, Dudley Park. Lizzie, do you have an update on the call for art and kind of where the status of that is?
I have asked. I am waiting. I sent it to 3 people there at once. So I didn't want to bother Keith because he's being bothered and there's so much going on. So I sent it to 3 other people and I have not heard yet, but
Okay.
a couple of days.
Or-
If they don't answer me in a few more days, I might, call over there or something.
And when you say you've contacted people, is that about getting the site plan, or is that like giving it all over to the public information folks?
No, you had asked me to get the site plan so you guys could do the RFP and go forward. We were just missing that piece. That was my understanding. And so, and you didn't have a specific person. When I asked you, you said just the office. So I just contacted a bunch of people.
Yeah, I think there's only like 3 people in their office, though. They all know each other. Okay.
Is that park planning?
Splost.
Oh, SPOST office. Okay.
Well, that was a starting point. I mean, they may direct her to someone in park planning, but I think Keith is our SPLOST contact on that one. So, all right.
It might be faster to go through park planning. That's usually the route I go.
Okay.
Was that Linda?
Helen.
Helen.
Okay.
So
Sorry. Hard to find the screen.
you might talk to Mel.
Okay.
Over in park planning.
Mel Cochran. Okay. And then the other piece that needs to be attached, Lizzie, for your notes, besides the site plan, will be that attorney's summary of a public art contract addendum they want in all the future calls for art. So if you need a copy of that, Andrew, do you have
that? Probably somewhere.
Helen.
Okay, cool. I think I need to send the Greenway RFP to Lizzie to put in the, or I need to upload it to the Google Docs. But it's in there. The bullet list is in the RFP for the Greenway project.
Okay.
On the RFP for Dudley Park, all of that is on the last page of the RFP.
Okay, so we don't need to attach it separately. No. Okay. As long as it's in there. All right, great. And then, do we know if the construction on the park has already started, or the new, what they're doing there? Yeah, okay.
It is
a note. It was for
lately. I haven't seen anything.
Okay. Well, as you can see, there's a delay. We had meant to release that call for art a couple of weeks ago, and getting the site plan has been a bit of an issue. So once we have that, then Lizzie should be able to send it over to public information and get it out there as soon as possible. So Lizzie, then you'll just need to adjust that deadline. We want to give it 8 weeks, please. And then the last piece, this was on the agenda, but it's not really a full-on project yet, to my knowledge, is the Firefly Trail in Winterville. We've just basically gotten the notice that
So silly.
we have a budget for that, so a % for art, but it's the number I wrote down, I believe, from our conversation with Splost was just a little over 100,000.
Wow.
Because that's a new bridge project, so 1% looks pretty good. And of course, we want to cooperate and collaborate with the folks in Winterville, the art constituents there. So our next step on that is to organize a user group meeting and I believe Splost is heading that up as usual for our first initial meeting. And that's all I've got for projects.
Oh, except for bus shelters.
Okay, yes.
So
bus shelters is lingering. What do we have for bus shelters?
Well, you said the scrape needs repair awaiting risk management. And as I worried that she might do, Johnny just went ahead and did it herself.
Okay.
She got the money from Keith, so she's happy. But you can take it off the list because she fixed it.
Awesome. Good to know. Thank you.
Maybe not awesome legally. I don't know. Stephanie might not be happy, but it happened. She wasn't going to everybody.
Noted. Thank you. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Any questions or comments about project?
I guess just to make sure I have it right, for the Dudley Park Call for Artists, the site plan you're trying to get, that's just something that's added into the Call for Art so the artists know what to do, right? How to design. Okay, just making sure.
Okay, so new business. You guys have seen a draft of our ongoing project, which is a call for round 2. Let's see, there's a few remaining hurdles. I think we got past one today, and this just kind of happened last minute where Madeline and I jumped on a call with the county attorney's office, with Sherry there. And the biggest, the umbrella term for what we're up against is the gratuities clause that is in the Georgia Constitution, where municipalities can't give money to organizations. And I guess the risk there is influence peddling. And so there are a few confusing things. I sent her a few examples of proposals for round 1. The concern was that anything ephemeral, so a performance, and especially in this era, a digital performance gets really tricky. And so the guidance there is that we need, any performance to be videoed on a static link for posterity, not just live streamed, but recorded in perpetuity and available in perpetuity. So that's our biggest snag, really, with performance. We sent a proposal that had some expenses in there that she thought were not allowable, and those were some expenses for a live performance that would be reused. And then again, so that was viewed as a capital expense that we would be paying on behalf of another organization. So the guidance there, receiving our money would have to rent equipment instead of just outright purchasing. So there's a few tricky things that we'll just have to handle on one-offs for round 1. Madeline, is there anything that you want to add from the conversation that clarifies things for us moving forward?
I think that covers it. Sherry was really helpful to just get really specific feedback. And I think that covers it. It's really just all about making sure it's super clearly accessible and of a real benefit to the entire public. So I thought that example about the not being able to purchase the equipment you need for this event, I thought that was really interesting. But it does make sense because it's pretty equivalent to like general operating funds, which we know we already knew wasn't an eligible use of funds for this, but I just hadn't thought of it, hadn't thought of that equipment purchase in the same way. So anyway, it was really helpful.
So she said the good news, is that we've got a good track record with this program. We've probably flown within the gratuities clause in the past. Obviously, administering and awarding 50 of these at one time will create challenges. So we need, we can't really handle everything one off when there's 50 projects going on. So we'll need to identify what's legally not kosher. One other thing that took me by surprise is that we had a proposal that was going to do a project that was a live musical event in part as a fundraiser for another organization, and that is also out. Basically, the government cannot give money for a fundraiser that for funds that are just given to another organization that essentially directly in conflict with the gratuities clause. So that's yet another thing. So at some point in our proposal, we'll have to specify what we can and can't fund and decide how to do that. One other thing that we talked about would make this go more smoothly is if each of our commissioners, all 11 of us, were to be kind of the main point of contact for a portfolio of these 50 awards. So there's 50 projects, there's 11 of us. We would each have 4 or 5 projects to keep an eye on over the next year and also just be there if there are any questions. So nothing too egregious as a time requirement. It just does seem to be the most to really roll this out. And also, I'm excited in the ways in which this can strengthen our relationship with the artist community here. And again, more broadly than just visual art. Madeline, you were there. Is there something you want to say about the portfolio idea?
Yeah, I caught up with Patrice about this, who's on the subcommittee for this, and she had a really helpful term she proposed, just cohorts, project cohorts, which seems like it makes sense here. But the idea is really just that we would all just be a point person for them. If any of the applicants had questions, everybody would still be executing their own projects like they normally do, but we would just be building relationships with people in the community to help them kind of overcome any hurdles that they face in, in doing these projects, carrying out these proposals. See, so yeah, and I guess the other idea we had as a part of the, the cohort idea, because, we don't know right now, right? We don't know exactly when all the projects or events, all these proposals, we're calling them proposals, we don't know when they'll be executed. It could be they want to do it in September. It could be they want to do it next May. So we anticipate there will be a lot of variance. So we had talked about doing this like progress report kind of thing, like maybe on a bi-monthly basis, just until that that project has been executed. And that would just entail, that would just be kind of a cue for the project lead to send some update photos that we can share on social media, and share. That would be their cue if they haven't already, to share any questions, and just kind of general update on how's it going and what obstacles can we try to help remove for you. So it's not that it would be like a 3-hour meeting every week or anything like that. It's really designed to be very simple and just kind of build relationships, to help people do what they are trying to do. I also want to address that all of this information about the criteria that we listed in the application, all of that is being addressed in a static document that I'm drafting right now. And it's just in a really rough draft form. That's why I haven't shared it yet with y'all. I wanted Andrew to and the subcommittee to just have eyes on it first. But we did get some feedback after we shared this link earlier about what do these criteria mean? How do we define community impact? Those are all the questions that are being addressed in the document, 100%. So those are all good points raised. It's just we haven't gotten you that information yet. So it's not really anything that, the document, it's just a request for proposals, right? It's just a document saying this is the timeline, this is what's different this time, this is the money, and that's it. So the benefit of doing this is that we can link it on the PIO's, the page where the actual application will be. We can just link it right there. We can also link it on our website. So it's just all the information's in one place as a resource. So,
Madeline, can I ask, this is just a little while ago, it's the first time I've seen this. And so, of course, one of my comments was, where's the criteria? I haven't had several comments. Can I just send the written piece to you? Some of it sounds like it's probably answered. Some of it, I was looking at it from the perspective of an artist, and I got confused in several places. So maybe you're addressing it, but this is the first time I've seen this particular draft.
Sure. Yeah, you definitely can. For sure. And just keep in mind, I mean, this application format, it's still a work in progress. We're making very quick progress. And I think we can get it done very quickly. But just so everybody knows, it's a work in progress.
Can I just send it to you, or do I need to send it to anyone else as well?
You can send it to the subcommittee for this, right, Andrew? So that would be Andrew, myself, Darcy, and Patrice. Is that right? Is that everybody? And then Lizzie as well.
Me too.
And let's see. There was other talk of, let's see, I was talking with Mark Beechuk if he wanted to be part of the subcommittee and help us out with the evaluation piece.
Applications review.
And we talked about it privately. There was some consensus. I'm not 100% putting him on the spot. My thing was somebody like Mark, who's been along ACAC with a while, but for a long time, but also works in county government, can help us identify what projects we might want to be more cautious of, what projects are missing some components, like what projects might require permissions and what projects can probably just fly by. One proposal that we had in round one, I thought was really awesome, and I would love to see it here. It was a couple artists proposing to paint electrical boxes close to downtown. Cool concept, sounds dangerous as hell.
Yeah.
I bet they don't have permissions, and they didn't say they did in the proposal, so that's some indication that they don't. So it's just helping us figure out which good ideas should and shouldn't die on the vine.
I'm still confused then. I don't know why, but you're talking about round one has already been sent out, but
he was a round one applicant. The electrical boxes was a proposal we saw in round one.
Round one being the $1,500 grants?
Yes, the ones we've already
done. Okay. All right.
1,500. So a lot of those people, Marilyn, had really strong proposals, but they might have left out vital information.
I just didn't understand when we hadn't finished the application form, but we had round one done. So.
Oh, I gotcha.
Different application form. That was a PDF. We did like a downloadable film.
Right. I just
got to be kind of
I was confused about the terms being used.
I gotcha. With
totally different.
Can I add a comment?
I decided I've got my hand up, but who else should go first?
You can go. That's fine.
Okay. So I have a really geeky question for the crowd, and that is the first time, like I was just saying, we did a fillable PDF. Millions of artists contacted me, didn't know how to deal with Acrobat. I put the free Acrobat link on the website, like yada, yada. This is just obviously not in their ballpark. So one thing Jeff from PIO and I talked about, because we sent him a draft of this just to say, hey, is this feasible? Can we do like a screen by screen permission thing to make sure people fill out the right stuff and don't give us empty forms like they did or leave stuff out, etc. So he's totally on board with all of that. And he said, yeah, it's not just artists. People will give you these multiple attachments with names that are not useful, etc. So he's like, this is what we can do for you. We can have the screen by screen thing. And at the end of it, the application deadline, you will get a PDF that you unzip and everything's all nicely in there with numbers, no names. They can't do names, but we can hook it up. But he cannot attach the attachment. So anything they submit additionally, like a resume, images, music, anything they want to submit will be separate and have to be linked up. That means me linking up over 100, however many applications we have for everybody to review with consistent names, like I did for the last one, but that was 25, giving everybody, so it was alphabetical, blah, 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 very easier for the group to review. So does anybody know a software or something that might link attachments to an application form so that we don't have to deal with that volume of separate files?
The only thing I can think of is compiling a PDF, and apparently that was the problem. So everything I can think of is still going to have separate. I think that's just going to, unless someone has an idea, I just think that's probably just going to be
I can do a little research.
Bummer administrative hurdle, but
Yeah. Well, he did suggest that we not let them upload many files, don't have a field for resume, blah, blah, blah. Sorry to get in the tech weeds, but like they have to do one file. Like he said, for $2,000, they can do that. They should be able to figure that out.
If they struggled with it in round one, I don't know why the county will get better PDF education.
Well, it doesn't have to be a PDF. You said it'd be Word. A lot of people can paste pictures in Word. I had a lot of people try to give me stuff in Word. That was fine. I converted it for them. But no, I mean, they can put it whatever form they want, just one. They just put their
Keith texted me to suggest a software tool called FormStack.
Okay. We will look at that. See how much it is.
Word, FormStack.
Got it.
If it works for them, this is a problem I'm sure they have. So
yeah. Though apparently they don't tend to generate that many people stuff with RFPs. Great.
I just wanted to add a comment if we're done with that part. Just kind of going back to what Marilyn was saying about, okay, reading this as an artist, how does this read? How does this feel? The whole purpose of formatting it like this is really just to set artists up for success so that they don't miss things, because there were so many applications in years past, or obviously I've just saw the first round one, but I believe the format has been pretty much the same in the last few years, where it's like just write one big narrative answer to all this, and that's essentially asking someone to write an essay. So we thought that breaking everything up into this like question by question format would really help everybody to make sure they cover everything. And then the RFP, this static document, if we don't want to use that word, will also help kind of set people up for success. So everything we're doing is 100% with that in mind, to make this as easy and clear as possible for them. So.
I will also say the RFP is something that we can pass around in promotion. The application portal is going to be, like it is with our SPLOST calls, and just be in the public information office. That won't be on our website. So this will give us a way to promote this more thoughtfully. I will also say something I saw for the first time today was a really awesome infographic that Darcy put together from our artist survey on how artists engage with ACAC from the Linden House Summit.
Nice. Is it on the Google Drive?
She emailed it to me earlier today.
Okay. Cool.
And one of them, again, I was in Spain. I didn't know any of this stuff. Y'all had queried about where people see calls for art. And so we will want to look at that and be more thoughtful about making sure that we're promoting in the right places so that people see this opportunity.
Could you clarify?
Yeah, that's a good idea, Donna.
No, I'm asking if you could clarify who's on that subcommittee that we could send suggestions to about the form.
Sure. Me, Madeline, Patrice, Darcy. Lizzie.
Okay.
Thank you. Something we might want to discuss, and Marilyn raised this point to me earlier in an email, and I think she's right. We need a more robust title for this opportunity so that we can differentiate this from what we've done in the past, and also honor the fact that the bulk of these funds are coming from the county.
Resiliency.
Sorry, I don't mean to poke holes right away, but the money was passed to expand arts and community, right? So why would we change this to be a different thing?
My point is that this money is really not ours. It's government money that is sent out, that has been sent to ACAC because they now trust us as professionals to give to artists, to keep the artist community paying its bills and keep this being an artist community. When you guys were talking earlier, it got a little confusing when there's AICG and then AICA. It gets a little bit confusing. So maybe a title that is a little more different. because this isn't the same as the money we give as ACAC with our public art money. This is actually the money that the government has given to support artists. You see what I'm saying? It's not really our money, it's their money, and they've asked us to distribute it fairly to artists to keep them surviving.
And I also think when we tell ACAC's history, what we will do more of when we apply for grants in the future, you know, I would like to have our recurring annual grants initiative, which has this name, and then during COVID, we did this other thing, which might need a separate name just to clarify. I mean, I really see this as a backdrop for an Our Town grant. This is big, this is splashy, this is a really bold artist COVID response for a community our size. It's a lot of funds. So, have any good suggestions?
I have a thought. I do think, well, our money, first of all, always comes from the city. So, I mean, we don't have money that comes from anywhere else anyway. So that's always been our base source of funding. And that was our purpose for being, is to distribute that money to the community, whether it's through the grants or through SPLOST programs. So I would disagree with the notion that this isn't our money to give. It is the government's money giving out. I do think, and I also think that this community grant program has been, at least for this year, expanded by this recent initiative. And so I think what the commission did was they said, we like what you are doing in giving out these grants to the community. This year, we want to expand that into a much larger pot of money to distribute it to a wider net of artists. And so maybe a way to differentiate it is to give it the same name, but just put X next to it. So it's like, it's AI, what is it? AICA X.
AICA, yes.
And just make it, this is the X round, sort of the supercharged round or something like that.
Could I add a comment? So I agree with Helen. I think that it was passed as an expansion of the Arts and Community Grant Award. It's the exact same program. It's not a new program. That's what it was passed as. I agree. We could at least come up with like a subtitle, but I think we still need to use Arts and Community consistently. I mean, it could be as simple. This is be really boring, but you could do it something as simple as fiscal year 21. Maybe that would work. I don't know, but I let's see. I have a little paragraph that is in the RFP I'm drafting. I would feel fine. I'm gonna go ahead and share it in the chat box. If you want to read it, I'll also read it out loud. But it kind of just speaks to here. It kind of just speaks to what I think the purpose of this is, which is to expand the program, continue to get funds out, but it's really about revitalizing the whole community. That's what the funds are for, right? It's about creating experiences to get people out, get people experiencing art, get artists making art, and get them paid for it. So I think we just have to keep the same name. But I like the idea of the X, or something boring like my idea of fiscal year 21, or whatever it is. But it's really about community revitalization through art. And I think it's enough to say that, it is a pandemic response, which because it's all these funds that are only available, because of the pandemic. That's the only reason we have all these funds now. But that's my 2 cents.
So one of the things I think that the position I'm coming from is, a little before that money was given to you, I got calls from a couple of commissioners to ask about how do we help artists if we want to give some money. And so they were talking as though this was money that would help people pay, individual artists pay rent, pay food, because they weren't getting any money in. So that was the perspective I was coming from when I just addressed it a minute ago, not knowing that they had said it was to be just enlarging the community, the art and community grants. So, yes, I didn't know that they said that. I wondered what exactly it is that they said when they handed over the money. So
I hear you. This was the topic of many, many, many meetings and discussions, and asking the city attorney, their office for guidance. And yeah, so kind of this new thing that would be very open and experimental, but just we can't because of what Andrew said with the gratuities clause, and the fact that it was passed as an expansion of this existing program.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Madeline, for that keen observation. I still keep the tab of that draft where they turned our 15 into 100. But yes, we should probably honor its original name and that intent. But yes, I like Arts and Community Awards -R. I think that accomplishes two things. It's not sterile. So we're not calling it, the totally clinical name that we've used before. And it's also different enough that I think it honors the specialness of this occasion. Any other thoughts to share on round 2?
Yeah, I have a question about it. I guess what would be the process that we like? What sort of approval process do we need to come up with the subtitle here? Is that just okay for the subcommittee to discuss? Do we need to have a vote on it? What do we do?
I'm okay with the subcommittee deciding. How about y'all?
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Other thoughts on this call?
I guess just to add more point, so everybody is aware of the criteria that are listed in this in the document that everybody has, the working application, the draft we have. Those are those terms specifically quality of the arts experience and community impact. We're borrowing from Georgia Council for the Arts and what they use for their grant funding. So we're basically just trying to look to the larger scale leaders in our state for the appropriate language and criteria. So we're kind of borrowing from them, and into the community impact, we're fitting all the criteria we have used in the past, which are public accessibility, contribution to local identity, things like that that have been in the have been criteria for the Arts and Community Awards in years past. We're just putting that into a category essentially, and same for quality of the arts experience, and so on. So if you have questions about that based on the draft that everybody sees, then yeah, you can just email that to the subcommittee.
Great. Anything else?
Is there an idea that people are going to take a little more time to look at this draft and comment on it, as well as what Madeline will send? Because I don't know that people really have much time to look at it, even though it's on the Google Drive, like they didn't know it was there.
Yes, the subcommittee should probably meet one more time.
Okay.
And we should probably give ourselves, some time to also digest.
Andrew, people are calling for a motion on the cohort idea.
Makes sense. I see the reason to vote on that one. So do we have a motion to approve the cohort structure model of administering these arts and community awards and kind of splitting the load equally among the 11 members?
Motion to approve the small cohort model to help facilitate these projects.
Thank you, Patrice. Seconded? Anyone?
Yeah. Second.
Anyone opposed? I really think this is going to be a beautiful. Did I interrupt somebody opposing?
No opposed.
I really think this is a great way for us to learn more about our own community, and I like the outreach nature of this. As we know, we haven't really had a robust outreach team, and this is a way of ensuring that we all kind of take it on. I'm excited about it.
So is the process, just to be clear, that the drafts are going to go, like the subcommittee is going to meet, a final draft will be uploaded to like the Google Drive for people to comment on. And once everybody's had like a comment period and they don't object, then we send it. Does that sound about right?
Good to me.
You got that, Madeline, or was that too fast?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
Holly had a question in the chat, Andrew, about if someone on the board rolls off, can add them to their cohort?
Yes, we will just getting ahead of our next topic of discussion, Holly. We will just find a way to hand that off to a new member, I think. This is a fairly low stakes engagement for a new member to get acclimated.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Cool. Next topic, and we don't have to belabor these points. I am just planting some seeds here. I don't think anybody wants to stay here all night. And so ACAC's future. So we need to talk. I am fried. I spent a little too much time with ACAC in May, and I'm feeling it. So a couple things. Budget proposal. We have our ACAC budget request is going to be the same next year as it was this year, and the mayor's recommended budget that is not yet official. I'm not really sure what that means yet because we asked for less staff time. Well, we had a couple different versions of budget proposals, and I don't really know which one they approved. We'll find out more. Also, in the mayor's approved budget, our request for a full-time position within the county has been approved, at least for that draft. We'd had initially put in that this would start in the new fiscal year, which would be July 1st. That is not the case. What is in the mayor's recommended budget is that this position would start in the second half of the fiscal year, which would be January 1st. So that's where we stand now. So that's awesome news. This will be a different era for ACAC. This is a testament to the credibility that this hardworking group has. And this is a 11-year-old mission that this certainly precedes my time by a lot. So it's a lot of hard work for those who have been around since the beginning. So thank you to our advisors who are on this call for getting us here into this position. Again, let's keep our fingers crossed because this is not yet officially official. And this won't be a panacea. You know, it's a relatively low-paying position. You know, I would imagine, you know, the person's not going to jump in the seat and stay there for 30 years. But it's a start, and it's a big deal. So a lot of hard work should be acknowledged there.
Andrew, what was the first item you said? There's the full-time position, but then what was the other?
Yeah, our agency request, our agency budget, so just the ACAC budget
Okay.
is so far it's going to be the same next year as it is this year. What that probably means is, you know, we would just administer the contract position as we've been doing, and any extra funds, we would just have an enhanced round of arts and community awards in the spring. What our original budget proposed was we would do a round of awards in the fall and in the spring. But if we don't have clarity on our personnel in the fall, we really can't and shouldn't administer awards in the fall and cannibalize our own budget that way. So that's our budget news. I'm excited about that. Would like to talk about knowledge sharing. You know, I wouldn't mind hearing. We have a lot of new members, so I want to be mindful of the fact that you know, our senior members are relatively few at this point in time. And you know, even me, I've only been on the commission for 3 years, so I am not the one who knows the most. So I would like to hear from the group, like what's worked for y'all? What's been a way, if you've been on ACAC for a year or two, what's been a helpful way to learn more about what we do? So new member orientation, that's one. And I did meet with new members. We met at Little Kings in January, and that was fun. Back in the before times. You know, is there a way in which we could have a more senior member and a newer member paired up?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I always wanted a mentor. Be my mentor.
Do we keep our organizational or institutional memory and knowledge somewhere? I know there are a million files on Google Drive, but it's overwhelming. So is there something else I could start with just to kind of get an idea? Because as much as I'd like to chat and have lunch with all of you, I know not everybody, you know, oh, the annual reports are a good idea. I know not everybody has time to do that. Even if you still want to do that, I would love to, like whenever.
I would do it anytime, Patrice.
Okay. So mentors.
So yeah, I mean, what
we still give out that book with the basics in it for new members?
Say that one more time, Marilyn, you cut out.
We still give new members that notebook with all the basics in.
We have probably paired our new member orientation.
That went digital a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But all the stuff that was in that notebook should be in one Google Drive folder.
Was it probably, Marilyn? An example? Is it in the Linden House closet? An example of that?
I don't know. I haven't, since they've been closed, I haven't been over there. You know, I said I would go through everything and organize it. I've been there for quite a while.
I'd be curious to see what you used to do. Yeah.
No, if we're saving money by being digital, that's totally fine. I just wanted to see what else was out there. So that was a long message, hang on.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer to this, and I feel like I was terrible. I was in charge. I think because of the way this stuff happens, finding ways to get people in and working with someone else on a project, even just sharing emails as they go around. If there's two people, a project manager and a project manager mentee, to be able to understand all the different phone calls and emails that get made, I thought the projects would all be fairly similar and we would do the same thing over and over again, but that clearly has proven not to be the case, which tells me that experience is the only thing that's maybe not the only thing. Experience was the best way to understand things. And I never tried withholding anything from anyone. It was just merely out of the need to get questions answered and the need to get problems solved that, I would reach out to someone or just say, hey, if one other person was involved, hey, please reach out to them and copy me on their answer. And then getting back in touch once a month is then tough and kind of problematic. So if there's a way to pair people up, and I mean, it's not like the mentor mentee thing where like you guys are going to go out to lunch once a month and be able to figure things out. It's more about having people involved in those projects and then understanding. The only other thing we really ever talked about in the past that I really thought was going to become more of a thing was more of a checklist type procedural for projects, and where those checklists are generic and then there's a blank line or two after them because the checklist, the task on the checklist needs something else to be done. And so a checklist of 100 things that need to be done is going to end up with 200 subtopics that need to be done, and learning those things is kind of the only way through it that I ever found. So that's just my little bit, and I wish I could help you from being at the lead of some of that stuff, but it really took a lot of figuring out over and over and over again.
So that's why I said we wouldn't be solving anything tonight, y'all. Let's just and B was right. We've had this conversation before. Just kind of want to plant seeds, because one really real thing that we're gonna feel in 9 months is Holly stepping off ACAC. What that means is a lot of the SPLOST stuff that has that's always been quietly worked on. Workload is going to shift to in some direction. In some way, it's going to be all of us. In another way, everything's going to change when we get a full-time position. I just want us to be mindful of this challenge that's coming ahead, and the fact that we're going to have a vice chair opening in the next few months. So I'd like you all to think of yourself or whoever that person should be to fill Holly's shoes. We should start thinking about that sooner than later, while Holly is here to pass on what she knows. Holly, how long have you been with ACAC?
Hey, I'm not sure if my video is working, but I'd have to look at my letters to be sure. But it's been I don't know, 5 years?
Early in the beginning, I can tell you that.
I know. Well, that was, yeah. So I started out before we were a thing, but that was a graduate student assistant for this group back in the day. So, and then joined as an actual member, later. And I think so. I've been a member, maybe 5 years. I think maybe I started out filling somebody who left, filling a short position, and then doing a full.
I think you've been on longer than that. It wasn't too long before you came on after we started.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been good. It's such a wonderful group to be a part of, and I hope to, definitely help mentor as needed.
Well, I would, again, this is, not yet a serious conversation because it's 9 months out, but it's something that we all have to start seriously thinking about. Because again, fundamental challenges are knowledge sharing. SPLOS projects are so convoluted and slow paced that it really takes years for one of those to go from beginning to end. And most people cycle off the commission before you really see a project like that from beginning to end. So that's one of our inherent challenges. But I would like some of you guys with a better organizational and project management brain than me to start thinking about. Okay, is there anything else on the subject of our future? Okay. Anything else that we should talk about in tonight's session?
I have something. This is Stephanie. Sorry, I took my thing off. So I just wanted to give you guys an update that Leisure Services had done a call for our pop-up park bus for wrap for the pop-up bus. And I know Montu's having trouble getting on, but I think Montu has going to represent the Cultural Affairs Commission on the selection committee with Leisure Services staff. They've had a pretty good. I think they've had a half a dozen or more. I got to double check how many applicants they actually had, but it went pretty well. And but if anybody else feels like really strongly about it and wants to jump on the selection committee, I'm sure we can make room for you. I just feel like Brian McGee, who works with Leisure Services, of course we work with Montu also. So I think they had talked about it, and Montu, as a new commissioner was interested in doing it. So I can follow up if he gets sidetracked with something else or we need more help. But I just wanted to let y'all know that it's ongoing.
The deadline was extended for that. Is that right?
They did. Yeah, actually, you're right. They did extend the deadline because they wanted a few more applicants. And I think also they had a few that maybe struggled with the application. It's kind of awkward because it's a weird kind of design problem. And yeah, so anyway, I haven't even had a chance to look at all of them, but I get copied on the applicants. So I have looked at a few. But anyway, I just wanted to give you all an update that is in progress.
Great. Anything else? Okay. Well, thanks, y'all. If a lot of progress tonight. I appreciate your time. Again, there's a lot going on, so I will probably talk to a good chunk of you in subcommittees before we meet again as a full group. Let's see, Arts and AICA-R subcommittee. We need to probably meet this week. Would Wednesday be okay? Wednesday, Friday, anything like that?
I would prefer Wednesday to Friday because if we can get this done faster, then we can get it out faster.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Tentatively
I'm
said
available
Wednesday. I will send that out.
Do you email the chat to everyone?
I beg your pardon?
Are you able to email the chat the way you do on Zoom?
He knows how to do it. I think he just copy and paste the link.
I'm sorry, I kept coming in and out, but
If you hit file and print, chat's one of the options there. You can probably print it to a PDF.
File. Okay, let's see.
Hey, Andrew, were you wanting me to meet with the subcommittee? If so, Wednesday afternoon's kind of tough, but Wednesday at lunch would be good, or Wednesday after would be okay.
I mean, Mark, if you want to be involved now, that's fine. If you just want to wait until selection, that's fine too. That's your call.
That's fine with me. I'll join if I can. I'm presenting to the hearings board on Wednesday, somewhere between 3 and 5. So you guys can come into the chat. There's 3 minutes of public comment for anyone who wants to oppose stuff, and you can ask me questions about stuff there.
Okay.
When does the mayor and commission, don't they meet this, like, do they meet Tuesday or Thursday? Does anybody know to finalize?
I really can't hear anybody at this point.
I'll chat.
Meeting adjourned.
Is it raining at y'all's house? It's pouring rain.
Water my garden. Woohoo.
It hasn't made it here yet, or else my computer would be gone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, coming down here in downtown.
Yeah, just started. Okay. Anything else? Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Andrew? Are you still there?
He looks like he's there. Maybe he left.
All
I
right,
can't save the chat the way Mark said, by the way, Stephanie. It doesn't do that in my file menu.
I did it because maybe it's because I'm hosting.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you very much.
File, save as. I don't know what happened to it though. That's a good point. Let me look on my desktop. I've got to stop the live stream too.
Mhm.
So,
Right, of course, yeah.
save chat. Where does it save it to?
I got it. I was able to save it.
I got it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.